It's Gideon Haig over here.
And it's Peter Lawler over here.
And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast. On location, you can see we have the beautiful backdrop of the MCG, where we've just attended a press conference by George Bailey, Australia's chief selector, where he talked us through the rationale for the squad for the first test, 13-man squad, which you already would have seen on Cricket et al. Breaking News. And George gave us his reflections on the squad. And we also heard from Nathan McSweeney, Australia's test batsman in waiting. And the next opening partner for Usman Khawaja. Big shoes to fill. Peter Lawler, how did you see it?
Probably one of the less controversial selection decisions of recent times, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're not always controversial, but I think after 2 Sheffield Shield games, 2 Australia A games, he had emerged as the key candidate. Mm-hmm. George says, you know, you don't come into these sort of last 2 games, the Australia A games, and you don't go from the bottom to the top. He was one of the 4. I mean, the others being Marcus Harris, Cameron Bancroft and Sam Constas. Mm-hmm. I think it was universally accepted that he would get the spot. And the other inclusion in the squad is, of course, Josh Inglis. What did you think about the selection of McSweeney?
Well, I mean, clearly Australians have stuck to their policy of picking the best 6 batters, or 7 in the case of Josh Inglis, and rotating them as needs be. So McSweeney will get the opportunity to open for the second time in his career. He's done a bit of it at grade level, but not for South Australia. In some ways, you know, if he had been an opening candidate at the start of the season, maybe South Australia would have been asked to try him up top. But George gave us some figures today about the number of times that McSweeney has batted in the first 10 overs for South Australia in Sheffield Shield games, and that seemed to be a salient indicator that he was comfortable against the new ball. I think he batted well without setting the scoreboard on fire in the second of the Australia A games. And really the other candidates almost eliminated themselves, didn't they? Constas letting that ball go, hitting his off stump in Mackay. That was a big setback for his prospects. Cameron Bancroft continuing the run from hell this season. Interestingly, George said at one stage that he thinks that Bancroft's actually batting okay. And I sort of see what he means. You know, he's still making reasonable contact, reasonable shapes. He doesn't look completely at sea. He's getting out to his first error, which can happen for a batter. Unfortunately for Bancroft, it's happened at the wrong time this season.
Where do you reckon that leaves Harris and Bancroft? Because they're interesting players, aren't they? They've both had a couple of chances at test level, and now they've been overlooked a few times. And in fact, the selectors have gone back to Sheffield Shield cricket and chosen somebody who's not an opener. I mean, they're pretty close to an opener anyway, but I get the feeling that Harris is actually a little further from the test team than he perhaps has been in the past, despite being in the running for this position.
Well, I think the structure of the seasons these days militates against change, doesn't it? Because so we've now got 3 Shield rounds for the rest of the year. That'll take us up to December the 6th, I think that's when the last round is. And then we don't have any Shield cricket until February the 8th, by which stage we'll be playing the second test match in Gaul. So there'll be almost no kind of real-time information which will enable you to make a change to the team. It's a bit like kind of trying to change a tyre while a car's in motion these days, picking a test side. I noticed Michael Clarke arguing the other day that whoever got the nod for the opening position should get all 5 test matches. It's going to be pretty hard for them to change, isn't it, from here on in?
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with Michael Clarke, especially because if you're choosing a player like McSweeney, you have to give them a chance to find their feet. You could go off a Bancroft or you could go off a Harris a little bit easier because they are known quantities to a degree. They have a history at test level. And if McSweeney, he has to stay for the 5 tests. I can't see him not doing that. What do you make of the inclusion of Inglis in the squad? Now, I reckon Inglis is a really interesting sort of situation because Inglis is not an opener, and that is probably the only thing that really excluded him from this debate that we've been having, the Great Australian Bat-Off, as we've dubbed it. But I reckon if any other position, he would have been in the side.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? They haven't chosen a third opener. They haven't succumb to the temptation of including Constas or Harris as a fallback in the 13-man squad. They've specifically covered a middle order berth. They might have some concerns about Travis Head, who's had a pretty soft last year in Test cricket, and they want an aggressive middle order option, and Josh Inglis does give them that. It's one squad, so we have to be cautious about generalising it from it. But they seemed very positive about the changes that they'd made. They seemed very comfortable with the selections. So you have to feel that is a guide for the policy they're going to follow for the full 5 tests. Bowling. Is there anything to say about the bowling?
Is there anything to say about the bowling? No, the bowling is set and forget, isn't it? It's Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood. I think there's an acknowledgement in the selectors' minds that they might have to address the bowling situation further down the track. Now, obviously injuries, you're forced to make a change, but you may get to the 4th test and look at your 3 quicks and think, well, are they starting to wilt under the pressure? Because Marsh isn't going to contribute a lot of overs. Head might contribute some overs, but there's no need to make a decision yet. They should all be in a very good place. I mean, they've all been tapered off, carefully prepared for this. They've had a good rest, all of them. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about Travis Head either, to be honest with you. I think Travis Head's only ever
one innings away,
a couple of shots away, and he's a bonus guy there. If we are looking at any concern in that batting order, for mine, it is what's his name?
Steve Smith?
No, it's not Steve Smith. Marnus Labuschagne. That's his name. Thank you. Senior moment there on a Sunday morning, Gideon. Marnus just looks out of shape to me at the moment. A few weeks ago, I was worrying about Steve Smith, and I think I was overcomplicating it. He eased my mind with that innings he played here the other day. Steve Smith is in a great place, and talking to Barad actually about having a look at him at the nets too. He said exactly the same thing. Smith's in a really good spot. So I think that's one area that's not a concern, but I am a little bit concerned about Marnus Labuschagne's form, perhaps over the last 12 months and at the start of this summer.
Look, let's not overlook that India has their selection problems as well. Particularly, they would have hoped that one of the players in this India A side would have made significant runs at the top to audition as a potential alternative to Rohit Sharma. Ishwaran didn't get a start. Ruturaj Gaikwad didn't get runs. Padikkar looked okay, but he was batting down the order. KL Rahul came in this last game, looked okay, for getting 4 and 10, but 2 got a very good ball in the first innings, got a soft out in the second. My feeling is they probably will go in with Rahul to open in that first test with Shubman Gill batting at number 3. It does show how much they miss Pujara at number 3, isn't it? I don't think Shubman Gill's a complete natural for that place, as gifted a player as he is. And there's issues around their fast bowling as well in the absence of Shami. Probably Prasid Krishna's done enough in these 2 games to get the nod. We'll have 2 fast bowling captains in Perth, won't we, Pete? Pat Cummins and Jasprit Bumrah.
It's a trend.
And there we were 2 years ago saying, it'll never take on. It'll never catch on. You can't use fast bowlers, but it's almost happened by stealth.
Give me that thing. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Jarrell.
Yeah.
Don't discount this kid, Jarrell. Okay. You sort of, I don't know if he's in the squad as a reserve keeper or not, but he's a cricketer.
Yeah.
He looked outstanding in the A games when a lot of other people were struggling. He's a chance. He's a live wire. I agree with you about Pujara. You really want a batter like Pujara when you're in Australia. You want to wear down the other side's seamers, make them come 2 or 3, 4 times in the day. But it's going to be fun, Gideon. It's not far away.
It is. Yeah. Only 2 weeks of mindless speculation to go on Cricket et.al. As you can see, we're getting very serious. I'm modelling our new merch. Pete, we should be twinning. I gave you the T-shirt yesterday. Why aren't you wearing it? Just a little bit too hard for you? Anyway, there's only a handful of these, only for very special people. George Bailey was eyeing it enviously this morning, and no surprises there. Anyway, that's all we've got time for on Cricket et.al. this morning. Great to have you with us this morning. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him.